Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Career Talks podcast, where we bring you actionable advice for your career and life. And that title is apropos for today and my amazing guest, Miss Julia Toothacre, who is a career coach, a CEO, and a podcast host herself for the Control Your Career podcast. This is actually a pod swap for us. So I'm super excited to have her on. So Julia, welcome to the Career Talks podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Orlando. This is really exciting because I know we've been following each other for a long time. So to be able to do a little podcast swap is always a good time.
I know. I'll say this, folks. If you hear us laughing more through the conversation than most podcasters, because Julie brings such an amazing energy. I don't know if I share that with you on your podcast, but when I watched your episodes and stuff like that, you're always having fun and smiling and laughing. I'm like, man, that's some great energy to be around. So if you don't get much advice from here, just know that we're just having fun laughing. So just a prerequisite.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I know, I'm an introvert, which sometimes people have a hard time believing. And so I never quite know what my energy. I'm glad that it's coming across as positive and lighthearted.
Yep. If anything, people are gonna be like, I want to know who she is, be around her, be on her podcast, or have her on my podcast because the energy, she's always fun.
Oh, thank you.
So love that about you. So, all right. So the topic, as we were going back and forth and talking, but folks, before I do that, share with the folks more about your background, your business, etc.
Yeah, so I own a career coaching business with Career Coaching Resources podcast, as Orlando said. I've been doing this work, going on about 14 years now. I started in higher education, working in career development, and that's where I got the bulk of my training and my experience. I have a counseling focused master's degree that allows me to just hone in a different way with my clients, more on the counseling side and then obviously the coaching side. And then I had some big life events happen that allowed me to start my business and start a podcast and do all these fun things that I'm doing now. And so we've been doing that, 6 years, almost 7. I think it'll be 7 in October of this year. And I've just thoroughly enjoyed running this business and doing things like this, being on podcasts. I also do a lot of media for a company called Resume Templates. I'm one of their kind of spokespeople, representatives, and experts. And so that's been really fun as well. And then I also have a course on LinkedIn Learning. So if you want to get to know me and my teaching style, I highly recommend going over there and checking that out. It's something that over 50,000 people have taken that course. And so That's really kind of a fun milestone in this business for me.
Awesome. What's the remember the name of the course? What's the name of the course?
That's a great question, Orlando. I do not remember the name of the course, but it is linked on my LinkedIn profile. So if you go there, you will see it. It is one of the links. I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. That's terrible of me, but
no, I'm laughing. It's the way you said it. Like, I thought you wasn't going to ask me that. So thanks for asking me and putting me on the spot.
Yeah, but go to my LinkedIn profile, connect with me, and then you can find the link there.
Exactly. I'll just type in her name, Julia Toothacre. So
yes.
I told you, I'm already crying here just from laughing. So I told you, folks, if we can get through this, it'll be a milestone. So as you talked about your journey, though, so you said 14 years in it, 6 years, 7 years going on podcasting. I'm about 5 years in on podcasting. So I'm the little brother in this space to you. So talk to us about what that pivotal moment was when you were in corporate and then you said something happened. But what was that something that allowed you to go full time?
Yeah. So honestly, life happened. And this is a story that when I share it, people are like, "Oh, that's a lot." And I'm like, "It is." But, when life happens, those are when we get to make some of these, I think, really big choices in our lives because we start to think about things differently. So for me, it was my dad passed away. I had my son and my mom passed away. All within 18 months. And then I'm also an only child.
Wow.
It was a lot, right? And I was working full time. And I was a leader in my organization. And so there was just a lot happening all at the same time. And it really makes you take a step back and go, what is important? What do I want to do? How do I want to live my life? What opportunities do I have now that I might not have had before? And so, obviously, being an only child, my parents passing away, I have some opportunities. And I took that to start my own business because I wanted to, honestly, I wanted to stay home with my son. And I'll be honest, and if we have any moms listening, I'm sorry if this offends you, but I'm also not sorry. I stayed home for a couple of months without any direction, or like I had no intention of starting a business, and I hated it. I was not good at just being a stay-at-home mom. Kudos to the women who they do that, and that is the path that they're on, and they love it, and it's what they do. It was so hard for me. It was so draining, and I knew that I needed something else. I'm a very ambitious person. I've always been that way, and I needed something to channel that energy into. And so that's what got me into like, oh, maybe I should start a business. Maybe I should start a podcast because I want to share all this career knowledge that I have. And then we just took off from there.
So thank you, one, for sharing that. And you said this is about 14, 15 years ago now? Or how long ago?
No, that's when I started in career development, was about
Okay.
14. So it was 20 when my
Okay.
mom passed. So that was the year that, like, she passed in like early 2018. And so that year was very pivotal for me because I had to manage their estate, which had a lot of issues. And I'm again, only child trying to manage stuff. I had a newborn, and I was working full time and all these things were going on. And I actually left my job with the intent of going back into full-time work. Actually, I had some conversations with people to go into ed tech, and I was on that path. And then after I had been home for a couple of months, I was like, I want to try my own business. I think that would allow me the flexibility to be with my son in a way that's healthy for the two of us, but also have something that I can put some of this, high achiever energy into and feel really good about it. So that was so about 2018 was when all that happened.
Okay. So again, thank you for sharing that. So a lot to unpack there for sure, because my brain is thinking two ways. I want to ask you two different questions. One, when you decided to leave, was it strictly because it was too much happening and you just needed that time to deal with everything? And then the second part would be, in those months that you were like, hey, this is not me. I need to get my creative juices going and get back out there. What was that process like too? So first part, your total decision on leaving, was it just what happened with the passing of your parents and the birth of your son?
That was part of it. I was very overwhelmed. I spent nights and weekends dealing with the lawyer and going out to my parents' house, and I had to go through everything, right? And it was mentally exhausting. It was physically exhausting. And I did have help. Like I had a wonderful community of people that were so great during that time and helped me out. But my job at the time, I loved my job. Like I will tell you, it was one of the hardest decisions to leave because I was actually on the verge of implementing something in higher education that in the career space, you don't normally get to do. And it was bringing career development into an MBA curriculum in a really, really intentional way. And I was partnering with faculty on that. I was going to get to teach some of that and be really integral to it because I was running career development at the time. And so the decision to leave shocked everybody, including me, but I could tell I wasn't managing well. I was exhausted. We had this baby who thankfully was an amazing sleeper, but still, my husband had a long commute. And so while he was there, a lot of just the management of the baby came to me for the majority of the day. And it was just a lot. I was very, very overwhelmed with everything. And if you want to talk about like decision fatigue, I was at the end with it because I was making a ton of decisions at work and I was coaching, I was doing all of that and, giving of myself at work. And then I'd have to come home and be 100% for this baby, try to show up for my husband, but also have to deal with the estate, and having to make decisions and the emotional weight of all of it. And at that time, I think it was really unhealthy because I pushed a lot of the feelings down because I was like, I have to make these choices. I have to make these decisions. And I think my body was so exhausted with everything that I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity to actually take a step back from this for a couple of months and get all this stuff done. I had this other opportunity that was potentially coming up. And I was like, I think this is a good time for me to step back. Aside from that, even though I loved my job and my team at the time, the larger organization that I was a part of, I did not agree with a lot of decisions that were being made. So we had a massive values conflict with the overarching organization. And so that's also what led to some of this decision. I knew I was going to leave. Like I knew within about a year or so, I would have left anyway. I just changed the timeline because I was in higher education and it's just easier to leave in the summer. It's just better for everybody. And so that's what I ended up doing. And I don't remember the second part, so you're going to have to reiterate that for me.
Note to all higher education practitioners: summertime is your exit strategy. So school is out, gone, bounce. So yeah, the second part is the time that you were home, those few months, and you were like, "Hey, this is not me." I have too much creativity, too much talent. And I just want to get back out there. Like you said, I'm a high achiever. I wanted to get back out there. The question really is, did you know what you wanted to do?
No. So funny enough, I don't share this a lot anymore, but when I started my company, it was actually a partnership with a friend of mine where we were doing business, like more business consulting and contracting. And I did that for about 6 months with her. And I knew immediately that it was not what I wanted to do. It wasn't that I wasn't good at it. And her and I, she's one of my best friends. Like we're so close. Like it wasn't an issue with her. It was like, I didn't enjoy the work enough to do that type of work. And I think some of it was I was burnt out from career development. And so I wanted to try something else that I felt like I had a good skill set in and realized like, nope, too much, don't want to do this. And so pulled back from that and then transitioned into career development. And then my friend, she started her own company and was wildly successful doing that because she's very gifted in that. And so she went off and did her thing. And then I focused more on career development. And then grew from there. So I just needed something, right? I needed something to get me going. I wanted to try something different and it just didn't work for me at that time.
Did you feel as though the consulting piece threw you back in the corporate vortex, so to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, too much so. I wanted more freedom
Yep.
in how I approached work and how I approached projects. And I will tell you the best thing for me was I was then able to articulate what I wanted and what I didn't want. And so even since then, I've actually had people approach me to do more like business consulting with them, especially as people are like, oh, I want to be a coach. I want to go out on my own. You did it. Can you help me? And I'm like, I can help you make that choice to do it. I can talk through those pieces with you. But in terms of actually doing business coaching and business consulting, I really have zero desire to go down that route.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, good. Okay. Well, at least right? Because, the title of, or should I say the name of your podcast, right? Control Your Career. You were doing that before you probably started. You were doing that before you started the podcast. So lo and behold, it's like a full circle moment. So that's awesome.
Yeah. And I think too, like when we talk about contracts with corporate, and I feel like this in the work that you do, I think there are ways that you can go about them where it's lucrative and beneficial for everybody in terms of how you work. And so that was when I realized if I'm going to have contracts with corporate or I'm going to do any type of partnership like that, it really has to be teaching and training oriented, coaching oriented, where I'm coming in, I'm giving my talents, but I'm not coming in and doing projects.
Correct.
I'm not coming in and creating training for you or creating a coaching program for you. I'm coming in and I'm giving you my expertise, my knowledge, my talent, and then I'm out.
Yep. Cut the check. I'm done.
Yep.
Here we go. Exactly. It's up for you. It's up to you guys to implement and keep it rolling. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you'll feel like I'm back on payroll. Like, They could be hitting you up like, when is that still, Julia? What's going on? The deadline for this part of it? And you're like, oh my God, no. Yeah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We got a Teams meeting. No, we don't.
Nope. Nope. No meetings for me.
No meetings for me. Absolutely not. So during that time, again, while you were still contemplating what did you want to do, were you, and you said, consulting wasn't it. You wanted to get back into career development. What was your first step to getting going? Not to go down the route of, because you're going to sound like a business coach as you answer these questions. So you never know what's going to lead you in a couple of years, Julia.
I know.
But that dynamic of, yes, career and life. And is, so what was that first step for you when you said, I'm definitely going to do this. I'm going for it.
Yeah. I had so many years in career development of coaching and training and doing all these things in higher ed. I just wanted to share that because so many people don't have access to those resources, right? Like I was working in, the collegiate environment, the university environment. And so those students are paying for those services, but there's so many people who don't have that experience that really deserve to have the same information. And so that got me started with the podcast. And my first few seasons were solo seasons where I was just spewing advice all over everything that I had learned. I put into those episodes because I just had to get it out of me and get it out to the world. So it started there. Then, honestly, I started coaching again because people kept asking me for coaching and it just went from there. So when I started coaching some past colleagues, some past students that reached out to me, now they're in their full-time careers and all that. And I remembered how much I loved it. And then I had to make the decision of, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it on my terms, the way that I want, in a way that works for me, but also in a way that I know will work for my clients. Because I've done this for so long, I know what structures we need. I know what resources we need. I know what's going to work. And so I built a coaching practice that I feel good about and that really helps my clients.
Love it. So you also said that folks are coming to you asking for business advice and things like that. So walk us through a little bit of your current business model. How do you coach? Group coaching, one-on-one? What does that look like?
Yes, no group coaching. Not my jam at all. That was one of those things I figured out very early on. We do not like group coaching. I think it's great for certain situations. And I have some very good friends that run group coaching and I refer people to them all the time because I think there is a place for it. But it's not for me. I'm a one-on-one coach. I love digging deep with people. And that's the one thing about coaching with me is we're not going to stay on the surface. We're going to go deep. And so in terms of offerings, a lot of the people who come to me, they're at a crossroads of some kind. So they're trying to make a decision. They're trying to figure out just what is next, but also, do I even know who I am right now? And so a lot of people in that kind of midlife is generally what I tend to attract. What has happened more in the last year, and this has been really different for me, is people who do come to me for that. And then through conversation, I find out that they're actually also considering starting a business. And so, whether it's coaching or consulting or something like that. So I've had a number of conversations around that, right? Who am I? And do I have what it takes to start a business? Am I ready for that? What do I need? And so I've started having some of those conversations with people. That's why I said I like having the early stage of, am I ready for it? Do I want it? What would it entail? What systems do I need to think about? I'm happy to have that conversation, but anything beyond that, I'm like, I have a lot of really wonderful business coaching friends that I can refer you to. And as a result, I actually probably either toward the end of this year or into next year, 2026, I'm probably going to have a specific offering around that just for people who are considering it. I haven't put it together yet, but it's on the horizon as something that is going to be coming out soon because so many people are considering it and they just need to have a conversation of, is this realistic for me? And what does that look like? And so I'm happy to have that conversation with people.
Yeah. And it's so fitting for the topic because people are now figuring out, is corporate long-term for me now? as far as who knows how long they've been in corporate. Like myself,
Mhm.
I've been in 22, 23 plus years, or actually 25 years. But now it's like, how do I balance this? Because I have the entrepreneurial bug. I'm doing a little bit of coaching or speaking or whatever their path they're looking to go. And so now it's like the balance. What's the balance going to look like, whether they're single or married or family, kids, etc. So looking, if we fast forward into to your current path, where did you, what was that balancing act like? What was the conversations behind the scenes like to make sure you can sustain this and grow, first get it off the ground, then sustain it?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I will say, okay, this is going to be a weird answer, but I feel like if you're a high achiever, you're going to get it. I actually had to learn how to pull back.
Mm,
So some feedback that my husband gave me very early on in my business was, you go to the office and I've lost you for like 4 days. And then you come out and you're tired. And then I've lost you for another couple days because you're trying to recover from the days that you just spent, going crazy in the office. And so within a year or two, I had to really take a step back and go, what is this? What do I want it to be? How hard do I want to push with it? And I had to figure out what that balance looked like. And I will tell you, it took me years to
mm,
really get my body to get out of this almost fight or flight space that it had been in because of full-time work. And because it was like, well, if I don't put 8 hours in, then I have not done anything toward my business, and I'm not going to succeed, and I'm not going to do this, and I'm not going to do that. And so it took me a while to really articulate, this is who I am. This is the energy that I have. This is when I have the energy. These are the types of business activities that I enjoy, right? Versus forcing myself into something that really feels uncomfortable to me, right? And so I had to figure out what that balance looked like. And I will say, this year going into next year, that's going to look a lot different. My son is a lot older. He's much more independent, and he understands what it means when mom comes and does a podcast recording, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
He's in his room right now and he's not allowed to come out because we're recording, and he gets it at a different level that he didn't when he was 3. Right. And so I really eased into it early on once I figured out the balance of like my ambition, right, and then my energy and time. But now I'm in a space where I'm like, we're in a different place now, and so we can go do different things. We can speak more. I do more podcasts now. I take a little bit more time, but I'm really cognizant of making sure that I give time for myself. My husband and I are on a health journey right now, and we make time for that in a way that we have never made time. But I can also see the benefit of that in my energy showing up to the business and doing all these other things that I do as well.
I can hear your husband saying, "Now, I'm not trying to get you healthy so you can put more energy towards the business, Julie. That's for
I know,
us.
right?
I don't need you going back into the vortex, going 10 hours now.
Oh my gosh.
That's the
Well, wait,
right.
when does this episode go live? Do you know? Do you have the date for it?
No, not yet, not yet. There's
Okay.
something you want to say,
Yeah.
and
Well, I
you
was going to
finish.
share something that would make a lot of sense, but I can't share it unless it goes out after a certain day.
Well, tell me. We'll make
I
it
have to
happen.
announce it first. So I'm writing a book. Yeah, I'm writing a book. And so I'm not announcing it till, what is it, September 10th,
Okay.
which is the first episode of my next season, is when I'm going to announce it. But I was going to say, like, in writing a book, like the energy that I need
Uh,
for that and the time that I need for that, there's just so much that goes along with that. And so that's one of the biggest shifts for us in terms of how I schedule time and what that looks like for the schedule coming up,
yeah.
and then what the result will be of that as well, right? And so the hope is that there's more speaking engagements, and there's more podcasts, and there's trainings, and there's all of these other things that I haven't been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so the getting healthy journey is partially to help support what is to come so
The
that I can
marathon.
do all of those things, and not burn myself out.
Yep. The marathon. Yep. You're about to
So you have
be.
to cut all of that out if you're going to post this before September 10th.
No, because it's fine because you didn't give the book title, so that's
I know,
fine.
but I haven't even shared that I'm writing a book yet at
Uh,
all. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we'll work around that. We'll work around, I'll just drop
Or
clippings
you
in
have to
this.
like silence it out or
Yeah.
something.
And I'll put a caption. Sorry, the audio went out at this portion, and then put us back in. Or breaking news can't release yet. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll definitely make it happen for sure. But yeah, I mean that's exciting for sure. And that's right. Again, it goes back to how do you balance everything. And so let me ask you this: do you consider there is a thing of work-life balance? Is that true? Is that something that's just
Yeah, I know that people have been trying to say that work-life balance isn't a thing, and
mm-hmm,
I don't remember what the alternative language is.
mm-hmm,
But honestly, I think there is work-life balance, and it's in however you define it for
yep,
yourself. Right. And one of the things that I do, especially with my clients, is we talk about seasons. What season are you in right now? And what does that season require of you?
mm-hmm,
And so I was just sharing with one of my business coaches that this summer has been the busiest summer that I have had in my business, because usually I go a little bit dormant during the summer, and just the way that things have fallen out and other initiatives that I've started and all of that, it's been really busy and I've been really tired, and it's just been different. And I was like, you know what? It's a season, right?
mm-hmm.
Because of how things fell out. And so now I'm looking into the fall and I'm like, okay, well, I want to make some shifts for the fall so that I'm not continuing this feeling of overwhelm with what's going on right now. And so I'm making certain decisions to make sure that I can obviously show up for my clients and, new clients and all of that, but other projects I'm putting off so that I have the time and I have the energy. And so when you look at things in seasons, that allows you, I think, to create a different kind of balance. So between that and then communication with whoever is going to be impacted by those decisions, I think that is part of the key to understanding what balance looks like for you right now in this season.
So, if you could put your life in three different buckets, that bucket is business owner, functioning in all those spaces, podcast host, coach, etc.,
Mhm.
wife, and mom. What percentage would you put in each bucket in this current season?
Ooh, Orlando, you're coming out with the hard questions.
This is about balancing life. You need to know.
Dang. Okay. I feel like my business, I don't even want to admit this. It's probably 60%. And I'll tell you why. It's because
Mm-hmm,
I teach during the summer. And when I teach, it always ends up taking more time than I think it's going to take.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I would say I'm at about 60% with the business. And I would say pretty evenly split between wife and mom. We homeschool, and so I feel like I do a lot related to that. And then obviously just hanging out, and
Mm-hmm.
those types of things. And then I think too, because of our health journey, that's created a lot of smaller moments for us to be together, whether that's as a family or, as a couple. My husband and I, we try to work out together as much as possible
Mm-hmm.
for accountability and things like that. So I feel like that's pretty split between wife and mom as well. So what's that? 20, 20, 20, 60?
Yep, 2026. Yep, which is fine, right? Because you shouldn't feel guilty because there's always that stigma of between men and women in corporate. Like no one asks the man if they're going to go on paternity leave. How much time you're
Right.
taking off. Worried about if they're going to get pregnant. So being an entrepreneur consumed is going. Who else is going to run the business? Like that's
Exactly.
you have to put a lot of that for the family. So, and again, it's the season you're in, right? Who knows whether you're male or female in your family, where it can shift, and a lot of things are automated, got AI, whatever, and now your revenue stream sources change, and now you can shift it however you want, whatever works. So there's no
Yeah.
perfect answer. It is what
Yeah.
it is.
I will say too, and I feel like I have to say this for women, but there's probably a 10% in there that I would take out of the business that's for me,
Yep,
that I make sure that I do something
that's good.
that's for me, that's just mine, that doesn't involve my husband, that doesn't involve my kid. So I think
Some
there's
people may say that's low for
I
you
know, I think so, but
because
see, I even the working out is a little bit of that
Okay.
too. But we just happen to do it together, either with my husband or as a family. And so I consider that a part of that. That's why it's like
Yeah.
hard to get numbers to it. I'm like, there's overlap.
Yeah.
I will also say, and I get a lot of flack for this when I talk about it on social media, but my husband does all the cooking
Mhm.
in our family. I do a lot of other things, but he manages all the food, all the cooking. He does all the shopping. Like, I have no idea what happens food wise in our house. Like, meals just show up. It's amazing. Like, he does all of that. And when we made that switch, that was a huge weight that got lifted off of my shoulders that has allowed me to show up in other ways to other
Mhm.
parts of our family life that I think were kind of on the back burner because I was concerned about too many things. So,
Well,
for what
I
it's worth.
now I have to make sure my wife doesn't hear this episode.
Also do not like cooking. Like, I'm not great at it. I don't like it. My husband likes it. Like, he
Okay.
enjoys
Okay.
doing all that. And I'm like, more power to you. I
Yeah.
don't. So
Got it. Got it. Because she can be like, give me Julia's number. I'll be like, who? Julia? Who? I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who you're talking about. So now, progressing entrepreneur for all these years, you've added on the podcast. You're looking to do more speaking. You're adding on more podcast episodes, being a guest in that space there. What's your vision for the business side of your life as you're balancing all these things?
another great question. I don't know how much I want to share about this, but I will say I do want to do more speaking, not just podcasts online, but I would love to do more in person, especially to smaller groups and organizations and things like that. While I can get on a stage, it's not something that I'm like, I want to speak to 5,000 people and
Mm-hmm.
do that. I don't really like have an ego to do that. But I would like to do more speaking. I would love to do more training, and just helping people in the corporate space, like through the corporate contracts, so that people are getting the support that they need, because I just feel like that's not happening enough these days in a safe environment, because our managers aren't always a safe space and HR is not always a safe space. So I would love to do more of that. I think beyond that, and this is something that I have thought about for a really long time, I would love to have a certification program for career coaches, not to help people learn how to be a career coach, but for practicing career coaches to add on a process to that.
Oh.
And I don't want to go into too much depth about that, but that is something that I think really just fits with who I am, my talents, and just what I want from my business in terms of the collective, right? So my business name is Ride the Tide Collective.
Mm-hmm.
And that collective term was chosen very intentionally early on because I always wanted to expand the business and to bring more people into it, whether that's in a training capacity, so training other people to do what I do, or even just having partnerships with other coaches that do something that's different from me,
Mm-hmm.
that's more life oriented, to help people just be more well rounded in their life and career.
Oh, love that. Love that. Okay. So I'll be careful not to ask a question that may reveal too much. Otherwise, I might have to scrap this entire episode.
I know.
Just too many secretive things coming, breaking news, bombs
Breaking
being dropped.
news. I'll tag you when I break all the news.
Awesome. Awesome. And then just come on back on the episode and we'll crank them all out.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the health side, the family side. So the health journey, you and the husband were talking. I know you mentioned earlier was for kind of the run of things that are going to be coming. But what was that conversation like too? Because again, that's a balance to say, hey, we got to carve this time out. We got to be intentional in making sure we stay consistent with it. What was that conversation in around that piece?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'll be really transparent. We got to a really unhealthy place.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically sat down with my husband and I said, I know we're not doing well health wise. I weighed the most I've ever weighed, and I did not feel good in my body, and it was impacting everything. Everything. We we had talked about, like, do we hire a trainer? Do we try to do this on our own? Like, what does that look like?
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, we had tried, like, we had stopped and started, working out, walking, doing all these things. And we just, for whatever reason, at the time we didn't understand, we couldn't stick with it. And so I said to him, I was like, we need an external force. Like, we need somebody else because we aren't doing well holding each other accountable
Mhm.
to this, right? And so it just so happened that there was a trainer in our community that was offering a summer special. And we went in, met with him, and we've been training with him for 2 years,
Oh
almost two
wow.
years. Now we go weekly with him. And honestly, it's an investment. We were very intentional. We let some things go in our budget to make time for this and make space for it financially. But when I think about one of the best investments I've ever made, it was that external accountability.
Mhm.
We also, and I think this is really important for people that want to go on a health journey or maybe are stalled in their health journey, we had to figure out what we needed. Like, we had to figure out the type of support that we needed.
Mm.
We knew that it needed to be external. The real thing that actually led us to our trainer is, one, he has a private gym. So we don't go to like a big box gym and train there. That was really important to me just because I do not like to be perceived and I do not like to be looked at. And so having a private gym was huge. Our son can come with us. And so sometimes he will work out with us. Sometimes our trainer just plays with him, honestly, while we're doing stuff. Or, he sits and reads or whatever.
Mhm.
This is going to sound crazy, but if you go to the gym, you're going to understand we can work out without shoes on.
Oh, okay.
And because it's a private gym, and that was a huge win for me for a lot of reasons I'm not going to go into, but I don't like wearing shoes. And so that was a huge win. So all these things that were almost subconscious issues for me and barriers to even go to the gym all got wiped away in this scenario. And I was like, this is the greatest scenario we could ever possibly imagine, to the point where we have an elderly dog. We've brought her to training sessions with us when she's been like not great health wise. I mean, it's been such a good situation. So all that to say,
Mhm.
you have to figure out what you need, like the type of support that you need. I think some people are self-motivated. They can get up at 5 a.m. and they can do the thing and they can do it every day. We cannot. We make this fit into our life, and we started small. We did training once a week, and we did 2 to 3 other workout sessions a week when we were starting
Mm.
to just try to get things going. We made small changes to our diet. We just changed things like very, very slowly. Like I said, it's been 2 years. We started meeting about 6 months ago with a functional health doctor that uncovered a lot of things we didn't know. And we've been
Mm.
making adjustments for that as well. And so it's, to me, if you look at me now and the schedule that I have now for working out, you might be like, oof, that's a lot. That's built up over 2 years. We didn't start here, and even in the last probably 4 or 5 months, we've made some big changes to how often we do things and what we do and all of that. And that's what people need to realize is it's a journey, and you have to figure out what type of support you need
Mhm.
in order to be successful. And we needed somebody externally. And that's what was most helpful for us.
I think that's really good because a lot of people probably are thinking, I need to leap in, dive in, you know, neck deep in and just go and make these changes. And it's like, well, your success rate might not be that high because you didn't prepare. You didn't know the commitment level, how much it would take, and you're just like you're amped up to make these life changes, but you should have
Mhm.
started with piece by piece, limit by, paste it out. And then so you can tack on and build up to it so you can have consistency over
Yeah.
time versus thinking, all right, we're about to do this marathon in 90 days. Let's start training.
Yeah.
When's the last
Yeah.
time you went jogging on a treadmill or anything? And so people are like, oh. And so, but yeah, I definitely resonate with that because both my wife and I recently got diagnosed, and I'll share more afterwards with just one on one with you. And so we're making those life changes too. And so we're like, oh, okay, yep. We knew we wasn't doing well, the eating out, the this, the that, then the not working out. And it's like, okay, some it caught up, and we're like, okay, all right.
Well, and also, so we're older. We're in our early 40s and our son is young.
Hmm.
And so there was also that component of we want to be healthy for him and we want him to see us work out,
Yeah.
and live that lifestyle and all of that because he's totally a gamer and he's going to be a gamer and I see it already. And that's fine. I don't, that's fine, but he's going to be a strong gamer. He's going to work out,
He gonna retire.
but that was, when you talk about communication with your partner, that's been one of, I think, the main foundation pieces for my husband and I is just that clear communication of what do we want as individual people, but then what do we want as a family? And how do we want to portray this to our son? And what do we want him to see of us? And that in and of itself has been, I think, really an interesting switch for my husband and I because we get, we see pictures of us from like 10, 15 years ago, and both
Hmm.
of us are like, oof, that was bad. It was bad. We were stressed. We were heavy. We were puffy. I was burnt out. My husband was commuting to downtown
Hmm.
LA and it was terrible. There were all those things, all those factors. And I think about us now, and in some ways, I'm like, I think we look better now in our early 40s than we did in our early 30s.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a journey.
Exactly. You got a little more swag now, right? You
Yep.
picked the right outfits and got the right hairstyle now. So
Yep. Yep.
you're not following trends. You're following who you are. So that's it.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so before we land the plane though, I want to and you shared a little bit too about things that you've done and what you should do. So, and I always like to pose a question to all my guests. If you have the room of people, couples, singles, and they're in that balancing space right now of I want to do more, or how do I do this? What's my next step? What did you think like the first three things they should attack first when they're thinking about balancing more in their life between the career and life?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is understand what your values are. What do you care about most in this season? So whether you are single or you have a partner, if you have a partner, you both need to do that type of exercise. So figure out what that is. What matters most to you right now? So for example, 2 years ago, health is what was most
Hmm.
important to
Hmm.
my husband and I. So we made that switch. I have a client that I spoke to. Was that this week? Yeah, this week, earlier this week. And finances is at the top of the list
Hmm.
for her, right? And so that's her, and that value is a little bit of a clash to some other things that she has going on, but it's so dominant that she's making decisions based off of that value right now in this season, right? So understanding what that looks like for you, and then I think whether you are single or in a relationship, just communication of what does this look like? So what do I want? What needs to change? Right? What small steps can I take? And you have to communicate that, whether you're a verbal processor and you want to do like a voice to text situation, which I recommend for all my verbal processing clients, or you're internal and you need to think about it. You need to ruminate and maybe journal on it, whatever that looks like. But get it down on paper somehow. This is what I want my life to look like. These are the changes that I'm willing to make. And if you're in a partnership of some kind, you need to have that conversation together. So you have to figure out separately what you want and then come together and also have that conversation so that you know what the other one wants for their life. And then you can help support each other and make space for that. I think so many couples don't make space for that. And then that leads to people getting frustrated, right? And I think even for people, if you're not in a long-term relationship, what do you want for yourself, right? You don't have to take somebody else into consideration. So what can that look like for you? And if you do need support, what kind of support would be helpful and who in your life can help you with that?
Love that. Love that. So, last question I always ask folks is what's your why? What makes you get up and do what you do?
My why, I feel like I have two answers to this.
Share them both.
I feel like my why as it relates to my business
Mm.
is I want people to be happy in their career, in their lives. and I want them to feel confident and in control. And so that's why, my thing is control your career, because I feel like we have so much more control than we think that we do. And I want to help people really like feel confident about that and feel like they can go out and make changes and do things that's going to eventually just elevate them in their life as a whole, because they understand the control that they have and they understand the control that they don't have. And then that comes together for that. I think my why for me personally is I want to be happy
Oh,
and I want to live a balanced life where I can impact others, I can raise a good human, I can have a good relationship, and I can feel good about myself, right? And I think that the work that I've done up to this point and a lot of the unlearning has allowed me to now wake up in the morning and go, yeah, like you're pretty awesome and you're doing a good job. And I wouldn't have ever said that, before maybe a couple of years ago. So,
share with the folks where they can connect with you, consume your content, your podcast, and coaching services, Miss Julia.
yes. So my website is ridethetidecollective.com. You can find links to all the things, including the podcast there. Connect with me on LinkedIn. That is where I'm probably the most active when it comes to social media, though I am on other platforms as well. My podcast is Control Your Career, so you can find that wherever you get your podcasts.
Love it. Folks, make sure you're following Julia. She's absolutely amazing. If not, you will get two. It's a two thing you will get from her, a dual, double-edged sword. One, you'll get amazing advice that you can implement. And two, you will be happy because she laughs and all the energy she brings. I'm telling you, someone needs to listen to this. Let us know how many times we laughed throughout the episode, right? And gave advice. And so it might be that 60-40, 45-55. It may be 50-50. Who knows? Well, but hopefully more so on the advice side when you hear this and understand that she's an amazing person, a newfound friend. Anything you need from me, Julie, I'm always going to be a supporter of you going forward. And I appreciate you joining the Career Talks podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Orlando. This is such a great conversation, and I feel like we probably have another
Oh, yeah.
podcast swap in our future for sure.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, folks. Appreciate you joining. We'll see you next time here on the Career Talks podcast.